Good morning.
Good morning.
When I thought about compassion community, I thought, well, what community? Well, obviously, the first one came to mind was this one, this community here. But we're all part of so many different communities. So your family's even a community. So just any group of people that, excuse me, come together with like interests or concerns or whatever. And so they're all over the place. But in every community, we always find reason, as Kathy said, given we're still human after all these years, um, to be upset or irritated. I don't know about you, but you can find the smallest group and there'll be somebody there that's like, you would just wish weren't there. Well, it's so I thought, well, if that's the case, then what do we do about that? I mean, probably everybody's family's got somebody that they have a hard time with or just plain don't like, and some families handle that by just excommunicating them. I mean, that's it. You're not in my family anymore. Done. That's a harsh way of doing it. That's a very, what I would say is a very closed hearted way of doing it. And really unnecessary, but to have a community work, including a family, it takes some work on our part. So I'm going to say the main key to a community working and having compassion is you, us, each of us. It always looks like it's them. I was fine until you walked in and you said, Bert, and that was it. And clearly it wasn't me. I was fine. Okay, that's a legitimate perspective. So I want to offer you the opportunity to be the heart of a community, to be the one that brings compassion because, like Gandhi said, if you don't like what you see, be the change. So the only way you can do that is, and it's, by the way, you already know this, it's a whole lot easier to make the change over here than to try to change all of them. I don't care whether it's one other, two others, 10 others, forget it. You, you might as well jump in your coffin now if you're going to try to change everybody else. It's a very hard job. Look how hard it is with just yourself, right? I mean, there's Michael Beckwith does a podcast called Take Your Mind Back. Yeah, there's a job. How about that one? And that's just for you. So the first key is to be the one that owns if compassion is going to be present in my community, it's up to me. Not because it's a burden, not because you have to. And you don't have to do this. I'm just offering this to you as a way in. You can be the one that doesn't say anything but opens your heart and just is present. That makes a huge difference right there. And then at what when I started thinking about this, it was like one thing was the key. Then I backed into it and I realized, well, I can't talk about that until I talk about me, the individual. So it's important. It's not, I don't know, important. I would say it's more a choice of yours and it depends on the path you're on. I mean, if you're on the path to open your heart and be the light of spirit and bring that to life, then like Michael Jackson says, look in the mirror. So that's number one. Then number two, this one is not so easy to get. So get ready. This could rock your world. You are responsible. I am responsible for my feelings. So if somebody says, you're a bitch, Rita, and I have an upset about it, it's my upset. They're entitled to their point of view, just like you're entitled to your point of view. It's totally fine. My reaction, however, and my feelings about it are mine. And it's not my job to blame them. As a matter of fact, the Dalai Lama says, friends that you get along with, fine, easy, no problem. But the ones that are hard, and he should know, given he doesn't have his country anymore, they're sacred friends. Why are they sacred friends? Because if you do the work, they cause your heart to open. What does it take to open your heart to that person that drives you crazy? Well, one is to know it's your heart. You're responsible for what happens over here, and you're responsible for your feelings. Now, all of that comes from, we were all raised however we were raised. We all have our history, which has brought us to this moment. some of which is glorious and wonderful and easy and loving and caring, creative, some of which is not. Some of it is awful. We were treated poorly, badly, either on purpose or not, and it has left us with some residue. If we can leave that in the past, that'd be great, but not always, because when somebody calls me some name, it may bring up stuff from the past that was very uncomfortable. And then from there, I then explode. I then express my feelings. So that's why the feelings are mine. You all know, actually, you know this. If you go to a movie, all of us went to the same movie. Kathy might be the only one that liked it, and Barbara liked it. She was like over the moon about the movie. Kathy liked it, and Jeff hated it. It's the same movie. It's the same theater. It's the same everything. We each have our point of view. So we're each responsible for our own feelings and the reactions, you could say, that happen to us. And when it occurs courtesy of someone in your community, that's the time to reflect for yourself. That's when there's a gift to like, wow, that really got me upset. What the hell was that about?
Mm-hmm.
What brought that up in me? What's going on over here? That I think they did something to me. Oh, yes, if somebody slaps you, obviously they did something. Your reaction to that is again yours. I mean, there's lots of options. And one of which can be to open your heart. And in other words, turn the other cheek, or you can just slap them back. But you're going to get, you end up with a result in either case. And it kind of depends on the path you're on. Are you on the path of opening your heart and expressing spirit in your thinking and in your words and in your actions? If you are, then you might reconsider the idea of slapping someone. But it's totally up to you. So then after that, the main key, ta-da, magical you, is forgiveness. Now, here's the thing about forgiveness. We've talked about it endlessly, and I just want to highlight, underline that it's not about the other person. Never is, never was. It's only for you. Because you're the one who's got I'll just use me. I'm the one that's got the reaction to this person. Now, it's my reaction so I can own it. And then if I'm working on opening my heart, I forgive them for having said that to me. Whatever in their life brought them to the moment where they thought that I deserved saying that, that's their life. And I don't even know about it. I don't know what's going on over there. All I know is they did that, and I have the chance now, akin to what the Dalai Lama says, to have them be a sacred friend and open my heart. And the way to do that is through forgiveness. Forgiveness is never about the other person. It's about you and the torment you are feeling, the suffering you're feeling, the upset you're feeling, the irritation, the hate, whatever it is that you are feeling, and letting that go, giving it over to spirit. It's not about they're just doing their lives out there, and they did something right in front of you or me that triggered something, and we got nuts about it. Well, forgiving them puts everything for you and for me back in place, puts us back in sync with spirit. It puts us back in that place of wholeness and love and beauty, and rest there where we are whole and complete. That's what forgiveness is for. We can talk about it, about the other person, how horrible they are and what they did. But the truth is, when we don't forgive, it's like, you've heard these expressions. I'm sure you swallowing poison and expecting the other person to die. Or you have a coal in your hand and you're going to throw it at them, but you're the one that's getting burned. That's what we do, is we harbor this. And so it's kind of like one little, and if somebody shows up in community that you don't care for, it's a little niggle over here. I don't like this, or I don't like that. And then your mind is, you know how your mind is. Dun, 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 dun. Pretty soon you have a brick, and then you have a wall. But the wall is not only between you and them, it's between you and you. By that I mean between you and your heart. You're not open to spirit. You're not open to the love that you are. So that's what forgiveness does, is it builds that wall. And damn, if you do that in a community, you start talking about that other person, everybody else has a mind too. Next thing you know, you've got a giant wall and everybody's in agreement about this poor person, whoever this person is. And it's really unnecessary. And if we can instead consider that we could forgive them, may not like them, doesn't mean you have to like them, and it doesn't mean you have to associate with them. It just means you forgive them. Why? For you. So you can remain at peace, and you can take that peace to the next conversation or the next action you have or the next place you're going. You can then be more of a expression of spirit, courtesy of the fact that your heart is now open. That's really the point. We tend to think of it as forgiving them, and why should I do, they did this or they didn't do that, or they said this and they didn't say that. It's not about them. It's really about you and freeing you up so you have space. You know what happens too is, well, like the song says, you want to do the impossible. When you forgive somebody, you release all of this, so all of that's gone, and wow, it's amazing what happens. You often see them in a different light. They seem so different from the person they were a minute ago. Oh, you're just plain old freed up to do whatever's next. I did that with my sister. It was amazing. I mean, she and I had a relatively she died years ago, but we had a relatively contentious relationship. Why, I don't know, but we did. And there was this point where I finally, she had been a heroin addict and had straightened herself out and all that. And then at certain times she accused me of being a bad mother. I was a single mom with 2 kids. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're the addict and I'm the mother. Get out of here. We didn't talk for 6 months and it was terrible. And then one day we were spending a weekend together. It was just going to be one night. And I got up in the morning and I realized, why am I holding on to this? Why am I holding on to my, I don't know if I would have called it that then, but my hatred of her. Why am I holding on to this? There's just no point. And in that moment, it felt like a whole piece of me just kind of shattered. It was like glass around me that was between me and her. It's more like glass was the experience, but it's akin to a wall, just shattered. And it was all gone. Now, I've never had a visceral experience like that when I forgave somebody before. I've done a lot of forgiving. I mean, we actually all have. But boy, what a difference it made. And I ended up staying another night. We had a glorious weekend together. I mean, it was heaven. And what was extra perfect about it was she ended up dying 6 months later, which we didn't expect. So, I mean, it was fortuitous that that happened when it did. It was just a miracle, grace from God that happened. It was really wonderful. But then all forgiveness is not like that. Sometimes, now you're forgiving all the time. I'll tell you when you forgive. You may not recognize it. Somebody cuts you off on the freeway. Might you yell at them? But you forgive them. Or somebody gives you the wrong change, or the waitress screws up your order, or somebody spills something on you. You're forgiving people all the time. You're forgiving yourself all the time because you do the same thing. And that's a big key to all of this, is forgiving yourself. It's not just other people, it's you. You're human. There's the 2 aspects of us, each of us, where these spiritual beings and this human experience. So you have this body and you have this mind, you have all this, and you have all these points of view and everything. Okay, and we trip and fall and make mistakes throughout life all the time. No big deal. That's part of what life is like. Then you can give yourself the gift of spirit just by forgiving yourself and bringing spirit to you. You deserve that. It was kind of funny. You deserve that. I say that, I mean, the spirit in you, okay, let me say it this way. The human that you are deserves to be nurtured and connected to spirit that you already are. I mean, it's kind of a joke because you really already are forgiveness. That's who you are naturally. That's the way you were born. You're born to be love. And that's all you are, is just that. So when you actually consciously forgive, you're reconnecting to yourself. You feel more at home, more at peace, more calm. It's a gift. So now then, it's not always easy. So there's a little method that I use. Sometimes, well, first off, if let's just say there's a group or a person that you don't have space to forgive, just know you're not forgiving them. Well, good. Acknowledge that to yourself. Get it up on the mat. Get conscious of the fact I'm not forgiving Joe. I'm just not doing it. I'm not going to. I never will, whatever you want to say. Just consciously say that. So if there's somebody in your life now, take a note in your mind right now and see if you can just say, I'm not going to forgive, just to yourself. The next level of that is to be willing to forgive. You're intending that you're praying that one day you'll be willing to be willing. And then you're willing to forgive, but you're not, none of these are, you're not forgiving anybody yet. You're just, it's like the right on the mat. The first step on the mat is no. Then there's willing to be willing. Then there's willing. Okay, I'm willing to forgive them. I'm not rushing into this and I don't care when fine. And then there's, I forgive them. So I've done many workshops where people have listed all the different, including God. Sometimes people have a hard time forgiving God, a list of who you're going to forgive. And many people just say no and then they say no for this one and willing to be willing for that one and willing for this one. And I forgive for that one. Here's the cool part about it is because it's already who you are. When you bring it to your consciousness like that and you bring it out in the open to you, I mean, you don't have to say this to anybody else, and you just bring it up, you have opened the door to forgiveness, to that aspect of yourself. Mm-hmm. And then I like to say, she will do her work with you. All you have to do is put, no, I'm not forgiving Joe on the mat. And guess what? Things over time just start to happen. I mean, I've seen it in myself and others. I had one client once who was like, no way ever. I'm not going to forgive this guy. And I did some coaching with him. And I never went back to that. I never went back to it with him. And he never talked to me about it. But then like 2 months later, he says, well, today when we meet, we need to end by such and such a time because I'm having lunch with this guy. You are? What are you doing that for? Well, I ended up forgiving him. And really? He said, yeah, it just kind of happened. And I mean, he didn't get into it in any elaborate way, but forgiveness had her way with him. And why? Because that's who you are. You are naturally forgiveness. And it's only thing that stops that natural forgiveness from happening is the chatter in your head, the point of view, holding on to being right about something. And that's fine. And you're totally entitled to do that. You can do that all you want. As a matter of fact, no problem there. We're really good at that. Really good at it. But you don't have to. So I'm offering this to you as the key to having a compassionate community. Bringing yourself there, being responsible for your reactions and feelings, and bringing forgiveness to yourself and others as much as you can. Because you're the one that gets freed up out of it. It's really, really for you to have that essence, that experience, the spirit within you in any moment. And I have just found it's made walking through life so much easier. Not to say that I'm telling you, me in the car, I tell you, I'm marvel at myself at how much you this, you that in the car. These people do these stupid things. And, excuse me, people are doing very odd things out there. And anytime I comment about it, because my husband drives for Lyft, over 40,000 rides now. And he's transformation on wheels. He has these kind of conversations with people while he's driving. But anyway, I say something about, oh my God, look at that guy. What he just said. Paul says, that's nothing. You have no idea. Somebody just yesterday cut him off so badly that he had to turn real quick to avoid getting hit, and he hit the curb and ruined his tire, had to get towed back. This is in the city, get towed back to Allen. Why do you have to get towed? Because his newer car doesn't happen to have a spare, which is a new thing that they do these. So trust me, he had a lot of forgiving to do. He called me right away so I could listen to him rant and no. So he had to forgive the car manufacturer, and he had to forgive the guy and then forgive AAA because they took so long, and forgive the tire place where we go here in Alameda because he was a walk-in and they're very busy. So his whole day was shot, so he had a lot of forgiving to do. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And it started by communicating and telling me how upset he was and blah, 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 and then finally calming down and then, okay. And this is like 10 o'clock and he didn't get home till like 3 after all this happened. So, it's what it takes. That's what life is full of. And, between he and I, he knows he doesn't want to hold, he knows if he holds on to any of that stuff, it's going to ruin the rest of the day. It's already challenging enough. So he just calls, oh, I just need you to get all this, and uses his favorite cuss words and all that, So it's expressed exactly how he feels. Doesn't edit it at all. He just lets it out and then frees himself up, and then he can go on and do the forgiving he needs to do and have a pleasant day. And then he did. And we went out to dinner with friends last night. So it ended up working out fine, but it was not the day he had planned. But many of our days are not that way. And in community, they are definitely not. So I invite you into your heart as often as you can get there. Know that your feelings are your feelings, and somebody else just happened to walk across a button and pushed them, but you're the one that had that sacred friend do that for you. And then forgive. Why? Because it gives you back. Gets you and spirit are like this most of the time, and then it just gets you back in sync so that you're there together and able to take the next thought or the next action or the next conversation to a loving, empowering level. So well, here we are back at forgiveness. How about that? It's amazing. These spiritual principles, you can talk about them forever and a day, and it's still useful. It's still powerful. I appreciate being able to look at it for myself and to be able to think about what it is and what is the heart of that. What allows me to have compassion? You don't ever know what's going on with somebody. I'm sure you've heard this story where a man was on the train with his 3 kids, and he's sitting there, the kids are screaming, running up and down the aisle. And he didn't know what to do with them. And the other adults and how we can get, oh my God, those kids are. And so finally some other man comes over to him and says, don't you know what to do with these kids? They're just creating havoc here on the plane. He says, on the train. He says, no, I don't know what to do. They just lost their mother, and I just lost my wife. I have no idea what to do. So we never know what's going on with somebody. When they call you a name or they reach out and do something harsh, we never know what's behind it. Unless, of course, we take the time to find out. But in moments like that, that could be what's going on that prompts somebody to do something, let's say, untowards in the group or to you. That's why forgiveness is so useful. You've done things where I've done things where you've been harsh with somebody, and it was all because of something that happened 10 minutes ago, or, and I just kind of took it out on the next person in front of me. So forgiveness is the key to allowing that person to have their space and for you to reconnect with yourself. How blessed are we to know this spiritual principle? Wow. Yes, ma'am.
The thing that's really struck me, what you said, is the word compassion. Where I can get willingness. I couldn't take.
You're beautiful. Exactly. Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it does matter. Sometimes forgiveness is like that, but sometimes it's a process like an onion, a little bit at a time. And reflection is the key to that. That's beautiful, Barbara. Thank you. Yeah, perfect. And give yourself the space to do it. Trust yourself. You're doing the exact right work. There's no rush to this. It's just knowing that that's who you are and it's available to do, and just get on with it when you remember to. And don't beat yourself up when you don't, because we all forget. Oh, so how about this? Let us pray. Thank you, dear Spirit, for this gift of forgiveness. Thank you for our awareness of this. Thank you. Thank you for the gift of reflection so we can stop. We can pause and look and see where we are in the matter. What is our next step on behalf of you so the light shines through each of us all the more? We're the face of God. Let that be widely known. Knowing that we can forgive and do forgive is allowing that face to smile upon everyone in our presence. And we are grateful, so grateful to know this, to be blessed by this, and to be here as an expression of you. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen. Blessed be, and so it is.